to today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm your host, as always, Michelle Graves, nationally known as the Money Lady, having handled money and real estate, insurance, a variety of investments over the years. And I'm delighted, as always, to come into your world to help you to develop a necessary knowledge base so that you can make wise decisions in these difficult times for you and your family. And today I have an awesome show, so just sit down and get comfortable because you're going to like this lady. My guest today for the next hour is Maxine Richardson. She is the CEO of Kwik Kopy Printing with headquarters in Blue Ash, Ohio. That's a suburb of Cincinnati. And she is here to talk to me today not only about the world of business, since everybody's talking about private sector, but also about humanitarian business principles. She's also heavily involved and has a history of being involved in nonprofits and even birthing a nonprofit. And so I'd like to introduce you to her world and allow her to talk to me today about her business success, her personal and family success, and the role that she has played in mentoring others in her professional capacity. So, good afternoon, morning, whatever day it is, time. Glad to have you here,
Thank
Maxine.
you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm just delighted. Why don't you give us a little bit about your background and what makes your world?
Well, we moved back to Cincinnati 23 years ago. I am a native of Cincinnati, and we started Kwik Kopy Printing with my husband. And the market has totally changed since we took over 23 years ago. But we've been doing
market?
The printing market.
Okay.
It was very simple at one time, and now internet is very much a part of that. And so we have gone a lot further in the business than we had when we first started. I have an art background, so that was the reason we decided to do this. But I have a very small crew that's good. We're more like a family, and we've been plugging away and doing the best we can in Blue Ash. As I was told yesterday, everybody knows me in Blue Ash, so
I know you.
It's a nice thing to know, but it's a good thing that people know you so that if they are in need of something, they can call me and they can get what they want. We are a small printer. We are a franchise. We do everything from graphic design to copying to digital printing to press printing to mailings for people. So we follow the whole gamut of what needs to be done when it comes to needed printed material. So basically people give us their jobs and we follow it through from beginning to end. And then we also deliver.
That's absolutely amazing, that personal service. So you think that is what has allowed you to become number one in your market?
I think so. There's a lot of people that do what I do, but if I tell somebody I'm going to do something, they know that that's what's going to happen. And we become friends with almost everybody that we do business with, so we have a personal relationship. So if something does go wrong, that they can address it to me, and we can take care of it right away. The one thing we do with any errors is correct it immediately. But and it gets me involved in the community, and I know everybody, so it works for us.
Well, let's talk about that, getting involved in the community and that it works for Kwik Kopy Printing. Give me some of the background of your community involvement. I'm looking at this this wonderful, wonderful glass piece, which doesn't show very well on television viewers, but it does read Sharonville Chamber of Commerce Small Business of the Year, Kwik Kopy 2011. And what an honor. What an honor, what an honor indeed, and well-deserved, because certainly you work. But let's talk about the other side of the coin, and that is your involvement with nonprofits and humanitarian initiatives.
Well, first of all, I don't care what kind of business you have, but you have to be involved in the community. All right, you have to become part of that community by doing different things. I've been president of the Rotary in Blue Ash, Montgomery for a year, one of the first women presidents.
That's impressive.
It's kind of fun.
That's impressive. The Rotary is an international organization.
It's kind of a good old boys group, but they're wonderful people. But they allowed me to come in there, and I became president of that. I was Rotarian of the Year, so I've gotten a lot of awards from being involved in a Rotary, and that's a philanthropic organization. We do a lot in the community, and that's done on a regular basis. Then I was president of Northeast Community Challenge, which is the oldest coalition for keeping young people out of trouble, such as smoking, drinking, drugs, and bullying. And so we got an award from Washington, D.C. for that, winning that award, and we got a grant to keep that going. So that's a very good organization involving teenagers in
And that's, what's that
area.
called again?
Northeast Community Challenge.
Okay.
It's Kids Against Drugs and Drinking and that sort of thing. So it involves teenagers in high school, and they become very much involved in that. And it's good to have children, young people, kids in high school, be able to relate to their siblings, you know, and their friends, and actually tell them what's going on, because they listen to them more than they listen to us. We have all the facts and figures, but they like to hear somebody
From their own peers. So how are you involved with Northeast Challenge?
Probably 8 years, and I've been involved in the Rotary for 13, and I'm in a lot of networking things. Doing business is not knocking on doors anymore. It is getting out, knowing who's out there, networking with other people. It's much easier to do business with somebody when somebody else steps in and says, you know, this is really a good business person, you need to try them. You can walk right in the door and you can get, I wouldn't say you get business, but you at least they listen to you.
Well, I think a referral is very powerful in the world of business,
very important.
Particularly since you don't really know the person.
Correct. And because I know a lot of people, I get a lot of phone calls, and people ask me about certain businesses, and I will refer them if I think they're qualified. As far as my reputation is on the line also. If I recommend you, you know, I expect you to follow through and do what you need to do as far as doing business is concerned, because I want my people that I work with to have the same feelings about doing business with people as I do, and follow through, and your word is golden.
I absolutely agree.
So,
the power of networking.
Right. Well, and see, the younger people like to do everything on the internet, but I'm seeing this turn around. I mean, it's great to do things on the internet, but it really boils down to the personal touch that you need to have with people.
Well, you know, it's a funny thing, because we went through a period, I'd like to say the last 5 years, where we've seen the internet move from being a toy to being a real social driver of business. But, and you and I have talked about this, Maxine, and that is that what about the personal touch? What happens if what you saw on internet was just a screensaver?
Right. Well, the other issue is you can't always believe everything on the internet, even though people think that you can. And I would say half the population, which is us older people, we like that one-on-one. Yeah. And I think the younger people are starting to see that. I mean, even if you work with a younger person in the business world, they start to learn that, you know, they have to be able to trust people too, because that's how business works.
I absolutely agree.
And in this economy, I think what has helped us do well is because our relationship with our customers, and that their success is as important as my success. So we help one another, and that's really what it's all about, and pushing and promoting. And the one thing that we do, I think, above other printers, is that we really work very hard with new clients, and we go over the things that they think they need, and we give them what they really want, not necessarily what they ask for.
That's interesting.
So, you know, people have an idea of what they might want in the printing industry, and printing is not inexpensive. So we want people to get the most value for their money, and we want them to come back. And so we like to see people on a regular basis, and so that's what happens in our shop.
So how have you seen over the last decade, with so many things coming at private sector businesses, looking at the business model changing, we're looking at healthcare expenses, we're looking at employee shifts, the days of the reliable, stable employee. All of those things have changed. What have the challenges been to you?
Well, for us, we've seen everybody back down. They're not spending the kind of money they would like to spend. They're getting basically rid of employees and consolidating. And what we're trying to show people is sometimes you have to bring those people back. You can't cut back. There's a point where you've cut back too much. So we really help people promote their businesses so that they can start bringing those people back. And we reevaluate everything that they do in their industry as far as we're concerned, what they really need. We don't want somebody with a closet full of printing. It helps some other printer, but it didn't help my client.
Right.
So we try to show them how to screen back, and if every product that they use is really viable, do they really need this? And we have seen where people have actually been doing everything on the internet or on their computer and have found out that in the long term, doing all your printing on a printer in your office is more expensive than letting us print it and either run it just through with a few fax or being actually written by hand. So we see that coming back when everybody was cutting back, and also printing things out of a printer looks like it's been printed out of a printer.
It really does.
We want you,
yes.
even if you're a small business, to look professional. And we work with pricing with people if they're really on a tight budget. The organizations that we really have been working tightly with are all the nonprofits. We do a tremendous amount of nonprofits, and they're always on a tight budget.
Yes, they are. Yes,
and
yes,
they have been struggling trying to raise money. So we've been working with the different ones that we work with, everything from hospice to juvenile diabetes, Alzheimer's, all these different nonprofits. They are trying to save money and make money. So we're working very closely with them and showing them how to do that. As far as doing mailings are very expensive. Postage is not going down.
Okay.
And so we have them, actually we go through their lists and make sure that they don't have repeats, and so that the money that they're spending on that postage is actually being spent wisely and not multiple mailings to one location. You don't want that anymore. So that's really how we're working with people. We've got pretty quite knit with a lot of them, and we do you know, make donations and people out that way too, but it's really about, I am not a nonprofit, I am for profit, so I have to be able to make money to help you out.
Exactly.
So that's basically how we operate.
But I think you've brought up some excellent points in terms of your business model, and that has ensured your success over the last 23 years. You came into the industry with a background in art, creativity.
Correct.
You looked at a business opportunity and saw the potential. And then, as I'm hearing you, you grew, but as you grew, you developed a community orientation where you moved into the community, worked with businesses, got involved with youth, worked with a very large international organization. And all of these things have created the person that we call Maxine Richardson, which is
I'm a multitasker, but you do have to do things in the community, and you know, you work to make money, but you also work to help other people, and that's how we live our lives, and that's how we operate our business. So it has paid for us. We've seen a lot of our competition not do well. And so I just keep doing what I do best, and that's getting out there and letting people know who I am. And I think people like to do business with people that do things other than business. You know, you see a more rounded person, and when you see people do things in a volunteer situation, you actually see what their work ethics are.
I think you're
not
right.
One's different from the other.
Well, I'll be very candid with you. That is what has made me an admirer of Maxine Richardson, because I look at the giving of your time and resources and energy, and I philosophically believe that if you're going to be in business, that the community has need of more than you're just producing a product.
Correct.
They really do, and I think that many companies and corporations miss the mark, because they think that it's always about a dollar.
Well,
and a dollar's important.
Right. Well, one of my favorite projects is one we do with the Rotary, where we bring in 2 seniors from every high school in the Cincinnati area. They're juniors, and we teach them about entrepreneurship.
Really?
And my part of that program is to teach them that you do need to learn to communicate with other people. And no, you can't text your way into everything. And I know these kids like that, and they like to be on the phone. But my goal is to teach them to be able to talk to people, look at them in the face.
Yes, eye to eye.
And present yourself, because you have to know how to present yourself no matter what job you have or whatever you do in life. So if you're comfortable in your own shoes, you can just about accomplish anything that you want to. So that's my favorite project.
So let me ask you this question on the issue of teaching young people communication skills in this model we have today of texting and emailing. And I sometimes wonder if young people are going to have any mouths the way things are going, you know, if the body will evolve into a face without lips. But what are some of the key things you think young people today need to know about communication?
Well, first of all, I think they need to find out what their strong suit is within themselves. I mean, what makes them comfortable, and then pursue people that they admire. And watch them and ask for them for guidance in whatever project they might want to do, and ask for advice. You don't know everything, even though you're a teenager. You might think you do.
You do when you're young.
But you really need to do that, and then ask for somebody to be a mentor for you, and that works out very well. But you have to be able to talk to people. Even if you're a computer person and you're behind a computer all day long, you still need to be able to communicate with others. And you need to be able to really be able to talk to anybody anytime. And that my children are that way. They can talk to anybody anytime. And I think that's a talent that you need to learn and develop about getting out there in the business world. I think for us in our business, that has helped us, because I can pretty much talk to anybody, and we can really get down to what they're really looking for, and I want them to be comfortable with me. What I see in a lot of businesses, or whatever field you're in, you know all the knowledge, and then somebody comes to approach you for a product, and you almost make them feel like they're, I don't want to say stupid, but they don't know what they're talking about. You need to be able to step down to their level and say, okay, this is, you know, looking at their side of the coin, not knowing any knowledge. So being very generous with the information you have, so that when people walk away, they go, hey, yeah, I got that. I got that.
I think that's very powerful, to be able to communicate with people on their level, and that many business owners have challenges with communication, because the worst thing in the world is to find yourself not understanding what they're talking about.
Got to listen.
Yeah.
Got 2 ears and 1 mouth. And you got to listen to what they're really asking for you. That's why I said earlier, we give people what they want, not necessarily what they're asking me for. That's very important, because it might be a totally different thing. And then we try to throw in things that they've never thought about, as far as ideas on printing and you know, postcards and letterhead and so forth. So you know, I think it works best that way. I want people to leave our business feeling very comfortable, that they understand basically what I've been trying to help them with, and that when they pick up the product that they've ordered, that they'll be happy with that.
Well, let's kind of shift, because there is another type of printing that you do that you didn't mention, and that is weddings.
A lot of weddings.
I mean, really nice, high-end.
That's trauma time weddings. What we do is we have all the wedding books. And you can get on the websites and find them too, but we have the actual books. We give them to them. We let them take them home. They can have their discussions, whatever they might be, at home, and decide which ones they want, and then they can come in, and then, you know, if they give me something I don't think is going to really work for what they're asking for, then we kind of shift around. But weddings are a big part of our business. Any kind of parties, so somebody might have some kind of event.
Okay, including corporate events,
correct? Events also, and we do a lot of things that have people's photographs on.
Really?
You know, like if you have somebody having the 50th wedding anniversary, we can have an old photo that the couple has, and we can put it on the cover of the invitation. And that's always kind of a fun thing to do.
I would think that would be
people
really
fun. Like to see their faces on in print.
Yes.
So yeah, we do a tremendous amount of that.
Well, I think that, because I know one of the, I got an invitation several years ago, and I knew it had to have been Kwik Kopy, because it was just so elegant and so nice. And I think that those are memorable experiences. I think I'd be a little nervous about doing something like that on internet.
I would be. Now, there are a few companies on the internet that you can order things from that are very inexpensive. But I'm a strong believer in supporting your community.
Yes.
And keeping all the small businesses in business.
Yes.
And you don't know who you're dealing with on the internet, and if something's wrong, it's usually too bad. It's wrong. If we make a mistake, we do it over immediately. But I enjoy the reaction to people when they pick up their things.
Oh,
and they're
yeah.
thrilled to death that, you know, what they've been working on works. And a lot of small companies, you know, it's really important for them to have printed material. They need business cards. That's the most important. They need a brochure. And stationery they can use too, but the brochures and the business cards are the most important. When I go to a networking function or any kind of business function and somebody says, I don't have a business card, I just jump up and down. I give them my card and say, you need to have this.
Yeah,
you need to have this. Because once you leave, that might be the only thing that somebody has of you.
You're absolutely
correct. Is the business
correct.
card. And
You're
if
right.
you have a nice one, people will keep it.
Well, you know, this whole thing about nice ones and nice product, and as I've shared over the years as a businesswoman myself, a person can pick up a card and feel it.
Correct.
It's just a feel. And
you
you
need
can
all the senses to when you're printing something. You can be able to feel the paper, and slick or fabric type paper. There's so many out there, and you try to get people from every direction. And if you spend, I don't want to say a lot of money, but if you spend more than the average money on a business card, I can promise you people are not going to throw it away.
I absolutely agree.
They're going to remember.
I absolutely agree.
My card, nobody ever throws away.
Right.
Because it's on silk linen, and people go, wow, I've never seen this before. So that's what you want. That's why we do gadgets too, you know, to hand out at functions.
Okay.
But you want people to remember your name. And maybe they don't need you today, but if they have something of yours in their desk drawer at home, they're going to remember, oh yeah, I talked to somebody that was in the restoration business. And they'll pull that card out. So that's what you want. You don't want them to throw your card away. You want them to remember you by that card. Maybe not your name, but they will remember the need that you provide for the services, whatever they may be.
So do you think in the world of business today, the emphasis has shifted to more of a product, or would you say that the personal touch is still as important as it was a decade ago?
I think the personal touch is still the most important.
Really?
Even the young people who say they don't like it, they still do, because they approach their friends and say, well, who have you worked with when you were wanting such and such? So it is basically the same, they're just doing it a little bit better, but you do have to have a good product. I mean, you can be a great salesperson, but if what you end up giving them at the end isn't what is a good quality product, you've just wasted your time and theirs. So it's got to go hand in hand. You got to have a good product and good personality and a good way to sell people, and tell them what they want. You might have a product that has, like for me particularly, people don't always know all the printing we do. And I assume that they do. You know, we do everything from checks to labels to tie-back tags. I mean, we do the whole gamut. We do certificates. But if I don't talk about them, people never know. And it always comes back to me when somebody will say, well, I got something somewhere else, and we do that.
Right.
So I missed the boat there in not telling them all the services we have. Now, I have a nice brochure that tells them that, but they want to hear it coming out of my mouth. So I just got to keep reminding people that, you know, no, we don't just do postcards and business cards and brochures. Mailings are really big now. Everybody's going back to that. They're trying to get in the door.
They are going back to mailings.
Yes, even though it's got
So the post office has a future.
Well, I don't quite say that. I hope so. They're going to put a lot of people out of business if they go out.
Gosh.
But it's very expensive. And the one thing that we do is we stay on top of all the postal regulations. So what they tell you one week might be different the next week.
Are you kidding?
It changes all the time. And so depending on where you're sending things, like if you want to get a good deal on sending out postcards, for example, you have to have at least 200 postcards in the same zip code. So there's a lot of little stipulations, but if I tell you beforehand, okay, if you want to get this market, let's stay within this zip code, and we can get your best mailing. Now, they tell you that, you know, you have to do it about 4 or 5 times before people really get the point, unless they have a need at the moment they get the card.
Right.
But what you want is when somebody opens up that mail, that they don't throw what you've spent a lot of money on in the garbage. So it's got to look good, and it's got to fill a need that they have.
And it can't look like junk mail.
Correct.
Unless that's what you're
There's a lot of that out there.
Yeah, there is a lot of it.
And it can't be looking like a mass mailing. Okay, so when we even do labels or we imprint addresses on things, we don't use the standard type. We try to come up with something more creative. Now, the same way we do when somebody has an announcement, like a special meeting, like financial planners do a lot of meetings, we send it into like an announcement card instead of a normal postcard or a letter, because people have a tendency to look at something that looks like a wedding invitation or a party. So they're more apt to open that than they would if it was in a regular envelope.
Which you get a lot
And the
of
other
that.
thing is, when we do brochures and things, we try to tell people, don't get wordy, because people don't read. So get right to the point, just give bullet points and basic information, and then leave it alone. You want more white space than you want copy.
Wow. That's very, 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 so people do not read all of that solicitation.
It's got to be quick. I mean, it's got to get their attention immediately. It's like a business card. The most important thing on that business card is first your name.
Yes.
Then your company or the logo, and then how they get a hold of you, which is usually either a cell phone or a telephone or even an email address.
Okay.
We don't care about where you are.
So the notion of where your location is not as relevant today?
Correct.
It's just email, phone number, and name.
Yes.
And what you do.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And you know, it's all the way to get people's attention. Again, people don't read, and if you look at a business card, it's the first thing you see when you look at it.
Right.
What is the first thing you see? When you look at it? It's somebody's name.
Right.
And that's how you.
Do you think that pictures on business cards are dated now? People
Not
putting
really.
Their
I mean, there's the real estate people like pictures on their cards, but there's the problem with pictures, and I tell people this. You know, you can look too young, you can look too old. Your hair's too blonde, your hair's too dark, you know, I don't want to deal with a guy, I'd rather deal with a woman. I mean, it's all those little factors in there that are subconscious, but people do look at it. So in the real estate world, you really need to have business cards with your picture that's up to date. Because we like glamour shots. We like glamour shots, but we don't look like that every day. So you need to make sure that that picture that's on your card looks like you, somebody meets you and has never met you before.
Okay.
So that's really important. Everybody was doing it for a while, but I think people are getting away from it.
Okay.
Really
now I noticed everybody was doing it with the glamour, you know, va-va-voom.
Right.
And you were like, but you don't look like that.
Well, I think a better business card is if, just to give you an example, if you're selling a product, maybe having a picture of that product on the card with your name and printed over it. That's very visual, it's color. In this day and age, everybody wants, you know, for you to wow them when they see stuff from you. So everything has to be color. Everything has to be like in your face almost. And that's when you get people's attention. Just plain old. And I have very dear friends that are lawyers, but we're getting some of our lawyers to update their things so that they look more for the younger generation.
Yeah. Which that needs to happen if they're going to stay in business.
Yes, you have to do that.
You have to.
Even we do printing for Procter & Gamble. And in 23 years, Procter & Gamble has changed their logo 4 times.
4 times?
Very subtly.
Okay.
Very subtly. But everybody knows their logo. So your goal always is, if you have a product, that people recognize that logo. And then if
that
you
becomes the brand.
Correct.
Right.
And then if you have credentials with your field, then you need to have those little logos on there too, because like the Better Business Bureau, you know, if you have that on your card, but you better be part of that And you better be able to stand up to the reputation that they require.
Right.
If you have those.
Right.
So there's just a lot of little things that you have to do, and that's what we do when we sit down with people and we go over everything. You know, what have you accomplished? Like if you've gotten awards, like we've been putting this now on all of our.
Oh no, I think
piece.
that's so impressive.
So,
that's so impressive.
I think it's important. People like to do business with successful people.
Yes, they do. Yes,
and
they do.
so you need to show them that you are when you're doing business.
I tell people it doesn't hurt to toot your horn in business.
Correct.
If you have accomplishments and credentials, you need to let people know, because people want to be associated with successful people.
Right.
Yeah, that's business.
Well, and anytime you're doing business, you want to look for somebody to look up to, you know, and admire and look for their standards, because that will make you better. I mean, we all change on a regular basis, and we need to get better at what we do.
Yeah.
And in our industry, we have to go with the flow, with the internet and, you know, the computer. And of course, I did it kicking and screaming, but you know.
It's okay. I was right behind you, kicking and screaming, like, why?
Well, see, I've been a graphic artist, so you know, I'm used to drawing everything by hand, and then I hired a woman that was a computer expert, and so I give her ideas, and she gets it on the computer
and zap.
Yeah, and so
literally.
That's how I've become the salesperson in our business, and I'm out and about, and it's really been the best thing ever. You have to get out in the community. People need to know you. You can have the best product in the world. If nobody knows about it, you're never going to sell it.
I couldn't agree with you more.
So, and we see this in a lot of small companies that have really good ideas that come in, and we do things for them, and they have no clue which direction to go or how to get out there and get their name. So I drag people with me a lot to a lot of different things, and I try to keep them from making the same mistakes I made by doing a lot of things that didn't make any difference. So
what were some of the mistakes you did make?
I joined everything in town.
You joined everything.
And I thought I could go to everything in town. Well, you can't. You only have so many hours in a day. So what I really did is, at the end of the year, I always reevaluate what I'm doing. Okay. Now, am I doing this for the good of the community, or am I doing this just for business? And if it's to make more money for business, then maybe I'll step away from something. But my philanthropic things never go away, and but I get business from that too. And it just comes because that's what happens. People see how you work, and they go forward with that.
That is wonderful.
So, but like I said, I joined everything, every chamber, you name it. If it was a networking thing, I belonged to it. Everybody knew who I was, but you just can't be there all the time.
Right.
You pick and choose what works best for you, and then you stick to it, and you make it work. Because in a lot of organizations, I've seen people that they join. I'll just say the Rotary for one. They join a Rotary, and they think they're going to get all this business, but they never show up.
Yeah, well, no.
You know, you have to participate in that, and you have to do stuff outside the immediate organization, again, to let people know who you are. I admire people that I see that spend a lot of time doing philanthropy, because I really don't have as much time as I would like. But it's important, and it makes doing business a lot easier, because there's days, you know, things always aren't going well, but you have these other things to do, and it just
balance you, kind of to balance you
balances you out.
And I think that's so important. Let's shift for a minute. You mentioned that you're a franchise, and I know that today so many people that have lost jobs and are trying to regroup in our age group, the baby boomers, are trying to decide which business model works: direct sales, network marketing, starting a business idea from concept to launch.
That's my word. That's my tagline: concept to completion. So you were only right there. Franchises are really a good route to go, and I always fuss about paying my little franchise fee every month. But there are a number of people around that represent franchises. Some of them, my one particular friend, he represents 100.
Wow.
Now, he will sit down with you and say, okay, what are you looking for? Because what you think you might want is not necessarily what you want. And it might sound wonderful to have a fast food restaurant like McDonald's, but you know how much work it is.
Oh, so yeah, and very labor intensive.
Very labor intensive, and very costly to get in to begin with. See, most franchises, you have to pay something initially up front, almost like when you're buying a house type thing. And so, like for us, Kwik Kopy required you 2 months of training. You know,
Okay.
you leave and you think, oh, I know everything now, and then you get in the real world and you go, oh, I don't know
I don't know
anything. But
Yeah.
that's really the best route I would recommend if somebody was looking at a franchise. The great thing about a franchise, they've already worked all the bugs out of everything. You know, if you follow their system, you should be successful. Now, you know, some franchises have gone by the wayside, but majority of them are very successful, and that's how they became a franchise. So it's a good learning experience, I think. For somebody wanting to start their own business, I would go that direction. It's a lot easier to have guidance than just jump in and think you know. Like in my industry, a lot of press operators, because the industry has changed so much, have lost their jobs.
Okay. Now, wait a minute, just for a review. What is a press operator?
Okay, we have presses, and they run the presses to
Okay.
print everything. And it's a tedious job. But because we've gotten so much into digital, that it's almost 50-50 now.
Really?
So even the big commercial printers are going into the digital. So these gentlemen or women, because they're both, they're being put out of their position because of technology.
Okay.
So, you know, the first thing they want to do is run in and open a print shop. Well, you might have a good talent in a trade that you know really well, but running a business is another whole animal. And it's just totally different. And unless you know how to do that, it's not a good idea.
That is wise advice.
We have seen it in our industry especially, you know.
Well, I think a lot of people have a misconception about what business means anyway.
Correct.
And the amount of work and labor that goes into becoming a successful business.
I've always said I don't want to figure out the hours that I work, because I wouldn't be making minimum wage. I mean, we do put in some really long hours. We worked all last weekend because we have a huge job. You just do what you got to do. And people think having your own business, you don't have to work as hard as you work for somebody else.
Oh my God.
But as
that
I
is
told
so
my son
untrue.
who's in real estate, I said the one thing you got to remember is you always have a boss. Either the company you work for or your clients. They're your boss. They're paying your bills.
Yes, yes.
So you just got to remember that. You're
Right.
never a free spirit when you're in business for yourself.
Right. That is excellent
yeah.
advice. That is excellent advice. So people have, as I was saying, the misconception perhaps, or the naivete about what it takes to be a business success, and all of the ingredients that come to play. And I've heard you say, again, you've had the background, you are heavily involved with the community, you provide excellent product, excellent service, you've got good infrastructure in terms of your staffing. And so let's talk about Maxine for a minute, because you've got all of these other things. What gifts and skills do you think you bring personally to the success of your company?
Well, I really think, first of all, let me just back up a minute and say, before we bought this business, we moved 23 times.
Whew.
And so I'm very adaptable to whatever is going on. And I've had a lot of different jobs, and I've had a lot of different businesses.
Okay.
I had landscaping, florist business, a design studio. So I've done a lot of different things, but it all boils down to is, do I like, excuse me, to work with people? Because if you don't like people, you better be working behind a computer, because that's what it's all about.
Right.
And I think people that know me know that I generally do like working with them. When people are phony about it, it comes right on through.
Okay.
So that's, you know, what you see is what you get, and I'm this way all the time.
I would have to agree with that, which makes you such an amazing person.
But I think that's been my success, and I enjoy seeing other people succeed. I think it's exciting, because I know how much work it is, and to see that somebody actually gets recognized and is doing well for all their hard labor, it's a joy to me. I like to be around successful people, and those are the people that I hang around with too.
Do you think that being a female has given you a one-up, or it doesn't matter? It's a zero-sum total?
You know, I've been in a lot of women's organizations, and you know that. I really think it just boils down to me. It's what I do, because I can compete in a lot of different ways that men can't. And the ways that I can compete with them, I don't want to be that place.
Yeah.
So I think I do well just because of who I am. A really good example is the Rotary. I mean, the Rotary used to be all men.
Yes.
And they only let women in only like 22 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they've been regretting that or happy about it, but really the people that do the most in that organization, and shouldn't make a general statement, but a lot of them are women because we're used to multitasking.
Yes, we are.
And I think that's why it's a little easier for us to succeed because we are used to multitasking. I think if you get that chip on your shoulder that I'm a woman and you better be good to me, that isn't going to happen.
Right.
It
not
just isn't.
at all.
Not in this day and
no,
age.
No. Mm-mm.
And
No.
I would hope the young women coming along now would appreciate some of the hard work that a lot of women have gone through to get them to the things that they're able to do now that you and I were not able to do
my goodness
years
gracious,
ago.
Maxine.
I was supposed to get married, and stay home, and that never has
raise
happened.
kids.
Yeah, I've raised kids, but I'm still doing a lot of other things. But my life's exciting. I think women have more options than men. I mean, we can be moms, we can be stay-at-home moms, we can work, we can have a career. We can just do so many things, and most men don't have that opportunity. They basically go to work, and then I'm more apt to change what I decide I want to do. And that's happened quite a few times. But I have had a wonderful life. I'm excited, and I have successful children, and it's just really neat.
Well, do you think your children, because I love both of your sons, they're both amazing men, but of course look at their mother. But what do you think you have passed on to them to help them in their business careers?
Well, I think work ethics is the most important. If you say you're going to do something, you need to do it in the best of your ability. And I think the other big thing for them, and the reason they're so successful, is how they can get along with everybody.
Yes.
Because we've moved so much, they've been around all kinds of people, and so they've just learned to adapt, and you have to. In the real world, you work with everybody. I've always said if something happened to me, I want my children to be able to live in the real world with real people, not the ideal situation that I would like them to have, but and be understanding of people's differences. That's really important.
Well, I think in America, particularly given the fact that we are rapidly becoming a highly multicultural country with all kinds of groups and immigrant population groups here, if you have a closed mind, how are you going to do well?
You're not going to be successful. My son in Denver is in real estate, and he was picked one of the top 50 real estate agents out of over 6,000 in Metro Denver.
Oh my goodness.
And he says, well, how do you think, he didn't know he got it, and he asked me how I thought that he won it, and I said, because of who you are. You get along with people, you really look for their best interest. Yes, we all are working to make money, but there's a point where that has to step back from what you're doing and really trying to help people get what they need, and that's what he does best. So,
I think it's all about that integrity factor.
Correct.
That you've transferred to both of them.
Well, my word is very important to me, and if I tell you something, people know that that's
done.
That's what's going to happen, and I value my word very highly.
That is
in my
wonderful.
reputation. So, and I've got a wonderful husband. We've been married 45 years. So
45 years.
Doing this a long time.
He has been very supportive of you.
Correct.
Really, he has been very, very.
Whether he likes it or not, he's supportive. But he's the same way. We really.
Well, he was a sales exec.
Correct.
Whirlpool. Yeah.
People have said to me, we've never met a stranger, but I like to make people feel comfortable when they're around me. I don't want people to feel uncomfortable. So I work very hard at trying to get in to know somebody, because people are interesting. Everybody's got a story.
Isn't that amazing?
And
Isn't
everybody's
that true?
got a neat life, or good or bad, some of them. But it's just fun. And the other thing is, you realize that God's given you a lot of gifts. And not everybody's been as fortunate as you.
Yeah.
So
I am
that's
conscious
when
of that all the time.
you need to give back.
Yes, I agree.
Definitely need to give back.
So what would you challenge business owners that are watching this show today? What would you challenge them with as they look at your story?
I would just say, with your business, do the best you can, but don't be just surrounded by the business that you're doing. You've got to get out of that business and get involved in the community somehow. You have to give back. You have to. Because when you have a really bad day, and you're going, oh my, I don't know if I can do this anymore. If you can step out and do something for somebody else, it makes the next day a lot better. So I think that's really, really important to give back in the community. I do.
Do you have any suggestions as to how they might get started with this give back?
Well, there's a lot of things on the internet which they can get in there and find. The Rotary has information, the Kiwanis, the Lions. I mean, there's all kinds. A lot of the places in their own community, if they check out, you can go to the city buildings of a lot of these municipalities and find out what there is that you can do in the community. Hospice is in Blue Ash. We do a tremendous amount for them. And just ask around. You can do stuff at your church, your synagogue.
That is so true. Right.
There's always a need out there. There always is a need. And so, you know, you start out with one thing and then say, oh, maybe that's not really what I want to do. There's other things to do. You know, Meals on Wheels, food banks, Matthew 25, which is in Cincinnati. They do a tremendous amount.
Are they not amazing?
We're really involved with them with the Rotary, and we got an award from them.
Did you?
The year I was president.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
okay.
There's just really, really a lot to do. If somebody says, I have nowhere to go, I don't know what to do, all they have to do is talk to their neighbors or their friends or other businesses and get involved. They can even get involved in a business organization like the Chamber.
Yes.
The Chamber does a tremendous amount. There's a lot of smaller chambers along with the big city chambers. So there's plenty out there. You can get on the internet or you can look up in the phone book. And again, ask friends, what do you know? If you admire somebody and they're involved in different things, ask them what they're doing.
That is so true.
This
is so good.
You need to do that.
So what made you get involved with the Sharonville
Well,
Chamber?
you know, I did that kicking and screaming, and it's kind of a joke with them because I was out of time of things to do. And so I finally joined that chamber because I had been in another one I wasn't really successful with. And I just got really involved immediately because it was a bunch of wonderful people.
Oh, they're
and
what is his name, Mr. Arnold?
Rich Arnold.
Rich Arnold.
Yeah, he's going to have to pay me for this one.
But Rich Arnold is super.
He is what I say is what a true salesman is. And the chamber is because of him. It's a success. But I just was doing all the things that I always do, you know, as far as networking with people and bringing people in, and then doing the business that I do. A lot of the chamber members are people that I do business with. And so I got recommended. I didn't even realize I had won it until the day of the breakfast. But it was very nice, and it was nice to be recognized actually in another community other than my own.
Right, because Sharonville is contiguous to Blue Ash.
Yeah, there's a little competition there.
Yeah, a little bit of competition there.
But yeah, I was shocked. And the thing about us is we're a small business. I can't compete with the big boys, but I don't want to. I like being small. I like to be hands-on. I like to be able to control everything that's going out our door and know that when somebody gets it, they're happy or they're not, or something that might be wrong, or they're elated that what they got is happy. So, and that's how I got that. So it was
such
very
a
much a
delight.
pleasant surprise. And again, it's when you win things like this too, it does bring business to your door. That people, all of a sudden, you're successful.
That's amazing. 23 years to become successful.
Right.
Okay. All right, folks. Okay.
So, I mean, and that's the same thing that's true even like with the Rotary or business networking things. People want to do business with people that are successful. And I'm the same way.
Yes.
You know, but when I see somebody that's really, it's kind of working for them, they're not quite there yet, that's usually when I want to drag them along with me and see. And then I'm excited if things work for them. That's a joy for me.
See that happen. Yeah.
But that's just how I operate. You know, we're only here for a short time, and you got to do what you do best, and that's kind of what I do best. So.
Well, that I think that accolade is a big one, but it is so justly deserved.
Well, thank you.
It is. And when I got wind of it, I said, oh God, I've got to put her on this show because people need to be able to hear, touch, and feel a successful business owner who is committed to community and integrity and compassion and a person of good character. That means so much today, Maxine.
I think it means more today now than ever.
I mean,
because
really.
Especially with the internet and people getting taken and, you know. And then quick fly-by-night businesses, that take people's money and run.
Yes.
You know, they need to know that there's somebody that they can depend on.
Yes. That makes all the difference in the world, is the ability to be able to count on somebody. It really does. So when you look at how do you want to be remembered, and what's your future? Where are you moving on from here in the remaining time we have?
I used to try and plan everything, but the good Lord changes things for me along the way.
He's always
and
switching
so
up.
I basically keep going until something else comes up. I'm trying to get involved in some other things with some friends of mine. But we've gotten on a website now for people that really, believe it or not, don't want to talk to me, and the younger people. We got a website. It's called oneprintingsolution.com.
oneprintingsolution.com
or .net.
Or .net. Okay,
and
you got it both.
It gives them all the instructions on ordering printing. They can do it online. They can create what they want online and never have to talk to us. It gets produced. They have to pay up front. It gets produced and it gets shipped.
And no personal interface.
No. I have finally relinquished to the fact that there are people that don't like to talk to me. So I'm trying to, this is a younger community, you know, they want to do it fast and easy and out the door. They want to make a decision and don't want anybody telling them what to do. So we've got both opportunities for people that want to be taken care of and then for people that don't want to be taken care of. We've got both options. So that's oneprintingsolution.com.
oneprintingsolution.com. I want to remember that, and I want my viewers to remember that as well as we move into the concluding minutes of this interview with Maxine Richardson, who is CEO of Kwik Kopy Printing in Blue Ash, Ohio, a suburb of Cincinnati, and just a rock's throw from Dayton as well in that community. And her background, 23 years in the printing industry with a heartfelt commitment to the community as well as working with people. Rotarian president, one of the few women in the United States to achieve that position, recently honored by the Sharonville Chamber of Commerce as Small Business of the Year. Just an amazing teen challenge dealing with teens and drugs, and my goodness, that was a story.
That is a story.
That is a story. I learned, you told me so much about young people and drugs before it was even that popular. I mean, I didn't know anything about methamphetamines. You're the one that told me about. I was like, what? You're kidding me.
It's really scary, and I have to say that I was glad my sons were older, that I didn't have to think about it then. But it's real serious now.
Yeah, and the parents.
Yeah.
You know, it's just very, very disturbing and very I can't get a resolution on that, how parents and grandparents are so engaged in this type of behavior so that their children just simply duplicate it and copy it. It just
I think a lot of children get ignored too.
That's what it is.
Both parents are working, and we have to. A lot of us have to, and it's an issue.
Yeah. But as I was saying, viewers, in the remaining time that we have, it's just super important that you know that her way of doing business has proven to be successful for her. We've heard so much about the private sector that is bad and, you know, they're just greedy pigs, et cetera, et cetera. And I do believe that there are certainly some that do emulate that perception. But I would challenge all of you to recognize that the private sector is not going anywhere. It's an integral part of how we do business. And the small business community feeds America. It's not the super big corporations. It's the companies like Kwik Kopy that provide employment, that provide service, and then provide a community link through their expertise and their resources. So I want you to keep this in mind as we conclude this interview today with this magnanimous woman. And I certainly send her blessings for her continued business success, for the role model that she has played in our greater community. And I encourage all of you that whatever you choose to do it with great excellence and do it with great commitment. And always remember that even as God said in the beginning, we are our brother's keeper. We do have a responsibility to attend to one another. Not all of us come equipped with the same skills and abilities. That was a greater design. Those of you that have gifts and abilities in the business world, I challenge you to leverage those gifts to begin to help those who don't have those gifts, and to recognize that in the end, the only thing you leave behind is a memory. And the memory you want to leave behind is that you were a person that was honorable, worked in integrity, and loved people. I'm Michelle Graves, your host today on The Power of Money, and I thank you for watching the show. You be blessed. Have a good day.